you're going to see a divergence take place where Comex runs out of metal and the price goes down, not up, because it's thoroughly corrupted, and its corruption will become visible in full view to the most casual observer. The paper price for gold will go down, and the physical price will go up due to shortages and a mad scramble to find real wealth and store and secure real wealth in the face of corrupt government grabs, confiscations, and seizures. So there was a time, it was a little over a month ago, when there was one of the usual whacks from the cartel on gold and silver. And the way they do it is they sell gold and silver that they don't own. Like I think 2,000 short gold contracts went on in the last couple of days. Well, they don't have to post collateral if they're from the Big Four in the U.S. They just sell contracts without any consequence of having to post collateral or delivering in the metal. So they're selling paper. That's why we call it paper gold. I asked this excellent, reliable contact who gave me 1 month forewarning of the Freddie Mac, AIG, and Lehman Brothers default. I guessed two of the three. I didn't guess AIG. Anyway, a month ago, the whacking took place, and I contacted my fellow overseas, and I said, are we starting to see more evidence of the divergence? At the time, gold had been playing with 1,800, but it went back quickly toward the low 1,700s. It was around 1710 or 20 at the time, if I recall. So gold at 1720, I said, what are you hearing the actual gold price is for volume physical sales? I just got a one-word response in an email, 1950.
Yeah.
So a $200 to $250 divergence. And look at what's going on in the Comex. All you hear are stories of shortage. What was MF Global? Okay, my favorite little analogy, it was like hundreds of people lined up at a window, and you got 8, 10 different tellers at the window, so a lot of different lines. While they're waiting with money in their pockets to force delivery at the Comex, they all got robbed. That's MF Global.
That's
and
right.
I think that Corzine is going through a charade we're seeing before Congress. This is an absolute joke. I mean, they interview people, say, well, he's one of my former colleagues and I knew him personally. Then don't sit on the committee to question him. This morning it came out that he was assured by his back office that it was okay to send the segregated client accounts money over to London. Well, this guy, I don't remember his name, but some fellow who's been involved in 20 years of lawsuit work and criminal investigations, he said, well, there's two problems with that. Corzine is saying that he's relying on someone telling him that it's okay to send the money to London. Well, that's his subordinate. You don't take advice from your subordinate on such matters. Second of all, the back room was not attorneys. So a non-attorney was assuring Corzine, and then he went on and I think gave the smoking gun. So Corzine says, I had no intention of doing the following. Well, he did it himself.
Right.
I had no intention of giving orders to do the following. He did it himself. He had no intention of doing it, but he did it anyway. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I didn't intend to, but you did. All right. Corzine, I think, has been set up as the patsy in all this. And if you look back the last several months, you'll see that as the Italian and Greek situation got a lot worse and started spreading far away from Greece, the distrust among European banks became acute. The interbank lending became a real problem. It dried up. We had interbank lending in the United States, and a lot of it is run by commercial paper, asset-backed commercial paper, like Home Depot, to manage their own payrolls, might have some mortgage bonds. It's commercial paper. Well, it dried up. And who filled the void? Wall Street banks. What do they do it with? Derivatives. So my guess is that J.P. Morgan set up a rather vast credit derivatives business. And by the way, they don't ever pay out on those insurance contracts, as we saw in Greece. We had defaults, we had forced write-downs. They still didn't pay out. The debt rating agencies were objecting to that because they're direct violations of the contract that should pay out. So J.P. Morgan's got this derivative business that's lucrative because it's a one-way door. Money comes in and awards never go out. And in order to remain neutral, they set up, I think, MS Global to be the patsy to take the counterparty position. When this whole story came out, I thought, wait a minute, something doesn't sound right. Why would Corzine and MFG take huge positions in European sovereign debt that looks guaranteed to go bust? With solutions, with austerity plans, with bailouts or whatever, if we've learned anything in the last 2 years regarding Greece is that it's going to bust regardless of what they're doing. And I thought, okay, it's J.P. Morgan forcing the other side into position so that J.P. Morgan will have a nice blank neutral counterparty position netted out. I think it's much uglier than that. I think MF Global was also scuttled. A great article came out in Zero Hedge recently. It said, if you have so many losers in this zero-sum futures game that are clients at MF Global, who's on the other side of that table as counterparty to make big wins? And it could be shell companies that MF Global set up with Goldman Sachs help or J.P. Morgan help. J.P. Morgan, they know all about offshore shell corporations. They're architects of Enron.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess just to jump in, I'd say, isn't it amazing that a company like J.P. Morgan with $90 trillion in derivatives exposure, when we're talking about trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, how bad is it that they need to victimize segregated customer accounts to pick up $1.2 billion? It's just extraordinary to me.
Well, at the same time, you had 615,000 ounces of silver that were not delivered to client accounts from notices of delivery. 610,000 show up mysteriously in the J.P. Morgan vault.
That's right.
You could say, well, this is, added all up, it's not a really huge dollar value, but what was about to happen, I believe, was a breakdown of the Comex itself. They were going to say, we're ruined, we don't have the silver, we can't meet these demands for delivery, they're under contract, and we've been lying all along about the inventory, and besides, a lot of this inventory is shadowy and doesn't exist, and to boot, some of the inventory has been stolen from SLV. That's a pretty big admission that they don't want to make today, so they didn't. They stole 140,000 accounts. In fact, it's a lot worse than that. The low estimate is 140,000 accounts. The low estimate is $1.5 billion. Add in all the different firms whose clearing house functions were done by MF Global, where I don't know the exact terms, but the other firms that do business with MF Global, add them in, and you get a much bigger figure. I'm thinking it's like $5 billion lost, and maybe 250,000 different accounts that got rifled. A friend of a colleague of mine is a victim, and it's over $100,000. And it's a lot worse than the story being told in the press because this guy is a first-hand victim. He said he maintained a good-sized account. He liked to trade currencies. He liked to trade some agricultural things. He liked to trade precious metals. And the account's missing. Not only is the account missing, but the trustee has confiscated all the account receipts so that many victims can no longer prove what was stolen. That just stinks of cover-up.
Well, Jim, that's exactly what we love about you because when I make reference to the $1.2 billion, we all know there's more to this story. We all know that there has to be something far, far, far more significant going on here in order to have John Corzine take those accounts down and to essentially blow a hole right through the body of confidence that is these financial markets by the CME not stepping up and ensuring those customer accounts. There has to be something much, much, much bigger going on here, and I think that is what you just said, which is a Comex default was imminent, and the physical silver and gold that they are supposed to have in their vaults probably isn't there and hasn't been there for a long time.
I think that's probably what happened. I got a phone call 3 weeks ago from a family member, and they said, Jim, $600 million is missing. I mean, it sounds like a lot of money, but it's really not a whole lot, is it? And I said, well, give it a couple weeks, it'll probably be over $1 billion, and give it a month, it'll probably be 2 or 3. And I got some sass back from the family member because they don't like what I'm doing. It undermines their whole confidence for their system. Something very big is going on. I'm calling this just another sideshow in the bigger picture, which is the collapse of the monetary system. The sound money theory folks say something very simple. What backs the monetary system? Well, it should be gold, something hard asset, something recognized, something fungible, something that stands the test of time. Well, what do we have? I mockingly call a $20 bill a piece of forcible legal tender that's a denominated debt coupon. It's not money. It's just recognized as having value for buying milk or paying, a dental bill. We don't have money, and we're starting to see the ruin of debt take down the monetary system because the foundation of our monetary system is debt. The same fellow who is a victim of the MF Global account going missing and having his receipts confiscated, he's a very, very angry fellow. He's a mild-mannered fellow, too. He has an old friend from years ago who is working in the security detail at Fort Knox. And, it's ironic that the U.S. Treasury doesn't hold a treasure anymore. It holds debt. The Treasury doesn't mint coins so much as they print debt securities. Fort Knox doesn't hold gold. Fort Knox holds nerve gas, straight from the security agent working on the detail. Sean, this is just irony to the nth degree. It's sick, it's sad, but it's fact. It's what's going on.
Thanks for watching Part 2, and don't miss Part 3 with Jim Willie.